Okay, let's dive right in. So when you open Logic Pro for the first time, you're going to see this pop-up window here of 4 choices: MIDI, pattern, drummer, and audio. We are going to layer tracks on top of each other. So for the first track, we are going to select MIDI, and under the instrument, you'll see that Opus is already selected and the Open Library is already checked. Now, just for reference, if Opus has not been checked already, you can click this drop-down menu, go down to AU Instruments at the bottom, select EastWest and Opus. We're going to keep the Open Library check the same. We're going to keep the audio output the same. And let's begin. Click Create. Now, when you click Create, it's going to open this window. And this is the Opus engine. This is how you get access to your EastWest instruments. So right away, when you see this window, nothing is appearing. So let's go to Browse. And when I click on Browse, I see my purchased Hollywood Fantasy Orchestra right here down at the bottom. And we have brass, we have the orchestrator, which is another great tool we'll go over in another video. We have percussion, strings, voices, and winds. So I think for this song, I'm going to start off with my first track being some sort of a horn or a brass section maybe. So let's go to flugelhorns and let's try out some of these samples. Now with these samples, you can just click once. It's going to play a short note of what that instrument sounds like. Double click that instrument to activate it for your current track. I can spend hours just sampling all of these sounds. They're just simply amazing. They sound exceptional. When you select one, you'll see a short paragraph on the top right of this window, and that just describes the instrument and how it's used. Okay, so I think I'm going to go with this flugelhorn legato slur. Now this is a great instrument. I've used it before, but because it's legato, it's only one note at a time. So you can't press down on 2 keys on your keyboard at the same time. You're only going to get one note. But what that slur does is if you press one note and then while that key is still being held down, press the other key for your next note, it's going to morph or slur into the second note. So it creates this very natural performance that you would hear from a real life musician. All right, so let's double click on this and let's go to play up here. And now this is your main user interface for the instrument that it's selected. And you'll see at the bottom of the keyboard, you have your range of that instrument. That's so helpful. So I love that it highlights only the range for that instrument. Now you'll also notice on the top left of this UI, there's a mood. You could do soft, classic, or epic. And really this changes the velocity and the performance of that instrument, playing a soft, a regular, or a loud blast in this case. Choosing a mood for these instruments really just depends on what kind of mood we're going for in our song. If you want a very loud, fast song, you might want to choose epic. We're going to go for a softer song, so we're going to probably stick with soft or classic here. But it's fun to just try them out. They all sound great. And a gold star for you for anyone who recognizes this theme. All right, I'm pretty happy with this instrument. I'm going to close this window and let's get started. A really quick overview on the UI before we start recording. This button here is your library button and it shows or hides this far left column. I usually don't have this open, but this just toggles that on and off. And I always love to keep this quick help option activated. This is great because in real time, as soon as you hover your mouse over anything in Logic Pro, This little dialog box here is going to basically explain what that does. It's super helpful, and it's really helped me learn Logic Pro pretty quickly. Okay, so I have my MIDI keyboard plugged into my MacBook Pro. I'll be using that to record. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's going to work. I hope you notice some of the legato slur performance that you get from that instrument. Sounds great. However, it's still a little flat, so my keyboard comes with a knob that you can adjust as you're playing. And the great thing about Logic Pro, it recognizes most of these keyboards that have this kind of adjustment knob. Instead of re-recording this track, I'm going to start from the beginning, click record, and I'm not going to press any keys, but I'm just going to adjust this expression wheel on the keyboard to adjust the velocity of my instrument. And we're going to try and mimic an actual performance here, because we want some of those little nuances, those little, not imperfections, but just a more natural sound. Listen to this and you'll get an idea. So right now I'm holding down a note and I'm adjusting my expression wheel on my keyboard. Okay, so I'm going to click record and look at this graph, this bar graph that's showing up on my recorded track. It's not replacing the notes, but it's now recording that velocity data. And that's exactly what we want. Okay, that sounds really good. I'm pretty happy with that. So a good tip is when you're recording, go ahead and master this as you go. Let's add effects, let's do some mastering, because as you're creating the song, you get a really good sense of what the finished product is going to be, what the finished recording is going to be. So mixing and mastering along the way is very important in my opinion.